On the 17th of August, 2024, a country celebrated its Independence Day in a capital city that did not exist a few years earlier. A palace with golden wings. A parade ground cut out of the jungle. A president in ceremonial dress. And a guest list that had been cut from 8,000 people to 1,300 because the city was not finished enough to hold them. This is Nusantara, the $32 billion city that Indonesia is building from nothing on the island of Borneo to replace a capital that is sinking into the sea. This is what was promised. This is what was built. And this is what happened when a new government looked at the bill. Start with the problem, because the problem is real. Jakarta is one of the largest cities on Earth, home to tens of millions of people across its wider region. And it is sinking, not metaphorically. Parts of northern Jakarta drop by as much as 25 centimeters a year as the city pumps groundwater out from beneath itself faster than the rain can put it back. Roughly 40% of the city already sits below sea level, held back by seawalls, and floods roll through the streets with the monsoon. Add traffic so dense that it costs the economy billions a year, and the case for leaving becomes hard to argue with. So in August 2019, the government announced an answer as big as the problem. Indonesia would move its capital. Not to another city, but to a place where there was no city at all. A stretch of forest and plantation land in East Kalimantan, on the island of Borneo, some 800 miles to the northeast, on the other side of the sea. The renders were spectacular. A forest city, they called it. A capital woven into the trees, where the buildings would occupy a small fraction of the land and the rest would stay green. Electric vehicles only. Clean energy. Wide boulevards under a canopy. A palace shaped like Garuda, the mythical eagle on the national coat of arms. Its golden wings swept back over the presidential seat. 2 million people, eventually. A city built not for the past, but for a country that wanted to be seen as a rising power. In January 2022, Parliament passed the law and gave the city its name. Nusantara, the archipelago. And there was a financial plan that sounded almost too elegant. The state would pay for around 20%. The other 80%, the great majority of $32 billion, would come from private and foreign investors. Drawn by the chance to build the ground floor of a brand new capital. The turn came in June 2024, 2 months before the grand ceremony. The head of the authority building the city and his deputy resigned. No detailed public explanation, just 2 resignation letters, weeks before the moment the whole project had been racing toward. Analysts called it what it looked like, a negative signal about whether the city could be delivered. And the ceremony itself, when it came, told the story in its own way. The Independence Day celebration went ahead on the 17th of August. But the guest list had been slashed from 8,000 to 1,300 because the facilities were not ready to hold a crowd. The palace stood. Around it, much of the city was still concrete skeletons and cleared red earth. It was a capital in the way a stage set is a house. 3 problems drove what happened next. The first was money. The elegant plan depended on investors paying 80%. They did not. Foreign investment came in small. The largest single foreign commitment was a property deal worth around $50 million in a project priced at $32 billion. Commitments on paper reached around $13.5 billion, but only around $4 billion of that turned into actual construction. Investors were not being asked to bet on a city. They were being asked to bet on a government promising to keep building one, and that is a much harder bet. The second problem was physics and geography. Building a city in the jungle means building everything. The roads to get the materials in, the water supply, the power, the port capacity, the housing for the workers who build the housing. Every dollar of glass tower needed dollars of invisible infrastructure underneath it first. The site was chosen for being safe from earthquakes and floods, and it was. It was also hundreds of kilometers from the industrial base that could supply it, on an island with a fraction of Java's population, in a rainforest region where clearing land raised its own environmental questions about a project sold as green. The third problem was politics, and it is the one that decided the outcome. A city like this needs one thing above all, a government that keeps wanting it. In October 2024, a new president took office. At first, he said he would finish it, and even hold his own inauguration there in 2029. Then the budget documents came out. The state's spending on the new capital fell from around $2.7 billion in 2024 to a fraction of that in 2025 to roughly $390 million in the 2026 draft budget, an 85% cut. And in 2025, quietly at first and then officially, the city's status was changed. Nusantara would no longer be the national capital. It would be a political capital, a seat for government functions, with a target of 2028 for the branches of state to be able to operate there. Read that again. The city built to replace Jakarta was reclassified so that it does not have to. So what is actually there, in the forest, in 2026? Real buildings. The Garuda Palace is finished. Ministry offices, a hospital, apartment towers for civil servants, a vice presidential palace completed in early 2026, roads, and a water system. Real people, too. But not the 2 million of the renders. A few thousand civil servants ordered to relocate, and the workers still building. Around them, the villages that were always there. Wide, empty boulevards under a sky where the canopy has not yet grown back. Analysts use the phrase openly now. Ghost town risk. And yet, it is not dead. That is the part the collapse stories miss. Construction continues at a smaller scale. Government offices are opening. The city is becoming something, just not the thing on the posters. Not a new Jakarta. A government campus in Borneo, growing slowly, funded by a state that has decided it can afford a district but not a metropolis. Meanwhile, back on Java, Jakarta is still sinking. The problem that started all of this has not gone anywhere. And that is the uncomfortable question this leaves behind. Not whether Nusantara failed. By the standard of the renders, it plainly did. And by the standard of a working government town, it may yet succeed. The question is, what happens to the 30 million people in a sinking city that its country decided, in the end, it did not have to leave? If this blew your mind, hit that like button and subscribe for more megastructures. And tell me in the comments which one I should cover next. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you